how the media chooses to cover the likely nominees. Here's Thom Hartmann and his guest with more on that.
So, Dean, yesterday and today, your Dean's reports have just been so spot on. In particular, the one yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, about Trump's mental decline. You did such a good job of just going through and documenting what's going on with this guy. Bring us up to speed. Fill us in.
Sure. What I did in the article, people can see it, I actually gave the dates over just the last 2 months when he's been on the campaign trail. And Donald Trump has been confused about everything from the names of other world leaders to what state he's in, to who he beat in 2016, to who he's running against in 2024. And this is far different than the Donald Trump from before. There's a Donald Trump before, Tom, we all know. He lies to help himself. We get that. He's delusional about the election. We get that. This is actually confusion. This is cognitive decline. I don't know what's causing it. I'm not going to say it's dementia. It could be a lack of sleep. It could be stress from having 91 felony charges in 4 jurisdictions, facing the rest of his life in a prison cell. So he's not sleeping anymore. But this is not the same Trump. And it's very alarming because they're trying to cover for now, like Brian Kilmeade going, oh, when he says Obama, he beat Obama, he knows he meant Biden, but he's not. Like, no, you're covering for a confused older gentleman who doesn't know what's going on. And I can give a few examples if you'd like.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. I mean, the one that really jumped out first for people was in late September. He talked about in his speech, actually mid-September, right? He talked about saying, I'll read you the line, because as you know, crooked Joe Biden, the radical left thugs have weaponized law enforcement to arrest their leading political opponent, and leading by a lot, including Obama. So in the same sentence, he says Biden and Obama. And you might go, well, I guess people could make a mistake. But later in that same speech, he mentioned with Obama, we won an election that everyone said couldn't be won. You never ran against Barack Obama. Right. But in the same speech twice, he talked about it. Then I think one of the most alarming things was a week later, he's in South Carolina reminiscing about winning the South Carolina primary. And there he tells the crowd that when I came here, everyone thought Bush was going to win. They thought Bush because he was a military person, great. And he adds, he got us in the Middle East. How did that work out, right? What Donald Trump did there didn't confuse George and Jeb Bush in name. He confused the people. What he was describing was not Jeb Bush, who he beat in 2016, the former governor who never served in the military. He confused in his mind. He believes he ran against George W. Bush, who did serve in the military, who did lead us into the war in Iraq. There's other examples where he was in New Hampshire. He said Viktor Orban was the leader of Turkey. He knows Orban well. This is not like some other country, like sometimes people make mistakes. And then mentioned in that same speech that Hungary borders Russia. It doesn't, nor does Turkey, when he was confusing with Turkey. And the media is starting to pick up. The dots are getting closer and closer. He did another thing 2 weeks after that, just over the weekend, once again, talking about, he said, Viktor Orban, they asked him, what would you advise President Obama? And again, you have people trying to say, oh, he is playing a game with Obama. The idea he'll use Obama for Biden. No, that's a cover story, my friends. This is a man who it is beyond the lying, beyond the delusionalness. This is someone who doesn't know where he is. He was saying he was in one state when he was in another. And another Republican had to come up and whisper in his ear on camera, tell him, actually, you're not in Iowa, you're in South Dakota right now. And this should be a lot more alarming. And I don't agree with Ron DeSantis at all, really. He agrees with me because I wrote an article a few months ago about this. Trump's not going to the debates because he is hiding this. His handlers are hiding this. He doesn't want to be on the stage for 2 hours, Tom, because you can't hide that. People are asking questions. There's no teleprompter. And he's going to start saying things that are babbling, that make no sense. And all the Republicans on the stage, except for Vivek, are going to call him out and go, like, what are you talking about here? And the moderators and America's going to see it. And he's not going to debate President Biden either if he's the nominee. Again, I can promise you that he'll be hiding it even more because a year from now, if this continues, it'll be more difficult. It's a dangerous mental decline. It'll be more acute in the next 10 to 11 months. There's no doubt about that. You don't get better at this. You get worse. We should.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just going to say, Tom, and the reality is I write this article knowing Donald Trump's the guy we want to run against. He's the easiest to beat. So I'm not coming from this as a point of view going like, oh, I'm trying to say he's demented or his mental health issues, he shouldn't be president. We all know he shouldn't be president. I'm saying that even if it hurts us and he's not the nominee and they get him more formidable, we have to put our nation first. And calling out where Trump is now, dangerously where he is, we should all be doing it. Again, if it ends up handing the nomination to DeSantis or Nikki Haley, well, we'll have to deal with that. But at least it should be called out now. And the media's got to do a better job, and they're starting to pick it up. I have to be honest, little by little, you're seeing stories about this.
Yeah. Yeah, we should get Mary Trump on to talk about this because she's a good observer of her uncle's mental states, and she's a clinical psychologist. Have you heard from her, Bandy Lee, anybody else? Have you talked to any of these professionals about this? Mm-hmm.
And my brother-in-law is a doctor. They're both psychologists. He's treating, so I could go to them for help. But I had Bandy Lee on, not to ask about this, but a little bit about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, and
it's a good idea to book her again. Talk about more.
It raises the question. I mean, which is more dangerous? A guy in the White House who has dementia?
Right. And are they intertwined is the bigger question, right, Tom? That's what's going on here. But don't forget, and all of it comes together. Is it his handlers? Does Donald Trump that oblivious to where he is? I mean, it's funny when Ron DeSantis says it's sad looking at Trump today. He's not the same person as 2016. He's not the same person as 2020. And that was an awful person in 2020 for different reasons here.